The historical landscape is replete with narratives that, despite their profound significance, remain largely obscured from public view. Among these hidden histories lies the compelling story of the Xidaotang, Western Path Hall, a unique Sino-Islamic movement that emerged from the rugged terrains of northwest China. This community, characterized by its distinct spiritual path, revolutionary social model, and tumultuous journey through a century of conflict and transformation, is remarkably absent from global visual documentation, particularly in video format. The central inquiry driving this analysis is to understand why a group with such a rich and intense history, marked by both innovation and persecution, has remained largely undocumented in the visual medium, presenting a compelling enigma in the study of Chinese Islam. Part 1. Genesis of a Visionary, Ma Qixi and the Birth of Xidaotang. The Crucible of Northwest China, late 19th century. The late 19th and early 20th centuries in northwest China represented a period of profound upheaval for Hui Muslims. This era was defined by continuous resistance against the Qing dynasty, spanning from 1862 to 1977, which resulted in significant immigration of Chinese Muslims, particularly Hui people, to neighboring countries like Russia, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan starting in 1878. Amidst this political instability, high Muslim merchants in regions like the Yangtze River gained considerable economic success and emerged as community leaders and reformers, demonstrating growing political influence. This turbulent socio-political environment served as a powerful catalyst for religious reform and the emergence of new Islamic movements across China. Chinese Muslim elites during this time were actively engaged in modernizing education and re-articulating Islamic identity within the context of a rapidly changing nation-state. The widespread challenges and opportunities of this period, including the decline of the Qing dynasty and the rise of new cultural movements during the Republic of China era, created fertile ground for the emergence of reformist movements like Xidaotang. These movements often sought new means of survival, self-strengthening, and identity redefinition, in response to both internal communal pressures and external political shifts. The Xidaotang's formation was not an isolated phenomenon, but rather a localized yet profound response to these broader historical forces. Scholar, rebel, visionary. Ma Qixi, 1857 to 1914, stands as the pivotal figure in the genesis of Xidaotang. Born into a family deeply embedded in the Sufi tradition of Linton, his mother was the daughter of a Beizhuang order sheikh, and his father served as an imam. Ma Qixi received a unique dual education. He pursued classical Confucian schooling, achieving the civil rank of Shukai, while simultaneously receiving rigorous Islamic education at home. This blend of intellectual traditions proved critical to his later syncretic approach, allowing him to integrate Chinese cultural understanding into Islamic teachings. This intellectual innovation laid the foundation for what Chinese Islamicists would later consider a genuine product of Islam in China, representing the first manifestation of a truly rooted Chinese Islam. This deep cultural integration likely contributed to the movement's enduring nature and its ability to navigate the complex Chinese context, even when facing opposition from other Muslim groups. In 1901, Ma Qixi made a decisive break from his original Minhuan Sufi order, following a dispute over funeral rituals, an act that triggered unprecedented conflicts and violence with his former order. This act of secession, challenging established hereditary spiritual lineages, demonstrated the intense internal sectarian rivalries prevalent within the Hui Muslim community itself. His journey to Mecca was subsequently interrupted by turmoil in Russia, leading to a 2-year stay in Samarkand, a place revered as holy by Chinese Muslims. This forced detour became a transformative spiritual journey for him. Upon his return, he renamed his secular school from Jingxingtang to Xidaotang, Western Path Hall, articulating his ambitious vision. Jillian planted the seeds, Guanchuan made the flowers bloom. I want to reap the fruits. The name Xidaotang itself was chosen to contrast with another Daotang located east of Lintan, underscoring the movement's distinct identity and geographical orientation. The tragic culmination of these internal conflicts saw Ma Qixi assassinated in 1914 by a rival Kufia Sufi general, Ma Anliang, who was reportedly jealous of the Xidaotang's success. This event underscores the severe dangers inherent in religious reform that challenges established hierarchies and highlights the brutal sectarian rivalries that shaped the movement's early history. Part 2. The Fabric of Faith and Community, Xidaotang's Revolutionary Model. Core Beliefs and Practices, Islam through a Chinese Lens. The Xidaotang represents a distinctive syncretic Islamic reform movement, fundamentally fusing traditional Sunni Hanafi Islam with the rigorous study of Confucian classics and the Han Kitab. Ma Qixi's foundational belief was that Muslims should leverage Chinese culture to comprehend Islamic principles, thereby making Islamic teachings more accessible to the lay people through indigenous Han Kitab literature. The spiritual journey within Xidaotang aims for a closer relationship with God, aspiring to reach hakikat, complete path or vehicle of the truth, by traversing three paths or three vehicles, commencing with the strict observance of Sharia, Islamic law. While its religious practices share similarities with the Qadim Gedemu and incorporate elements from the Jahriya, Xidaotang distinguishes itself significantly in its approach to spiritual lineage and leadership. Unlike many Sufi orders that emphasize a silsila, chain of spiritual descent, linking back to the Prophet and typically feature hereditary leadership, Xidaotang explicitly rejects hereditary spiritual lineage. Instead, its leadership is merit-based. The movement emphasizes an intellectual genealogy, tracing Ma Qixi's spiritual and scholarly lineage to the renowned Muslim Neo-Confucian scholar Lu Ji, a 1662 to 1736. A notable departure from conventional Sufi practices is the absence of a mausoleum for Ma Qixi, further distinguishing the Xidaotang from the cult of saints practices centered around Gongbei common in other Sufi orders. This internal reform signifies a deliberate move towards a more rationalized, meritocratic, and deeply culturally integrated form of Islam. Such an approach likely rendered the movement more adaptable to the shifting political landscape of China and potentially less susceptible to the internal feuds that plagued other Sufi orders. The Xidaotang's conception of the Wuma Ummah was not merely spiritual but also an intellectual project and imagined place, serving as a social and economic community. This integration of faith into everyday life, coupled with their emphasis on classical Chinese learning, led them to be known as the Han Study School, Han Chupai, with members identifying as Chinese first and Muslim second. A revolutionary social experiment, collective living and education. The Xidaotang's distinctiveness is further underscored by its revolutionary communal living model, which aimed to emulate the earliest Islamic Ummah. This was not merely a religious congregation, but a special economic community, where members organized collectively and worked together. This collective community life, alongside an emphasis on Islam's 5 pillars and moral conduct, was overseen by a leadership structure that also ensured compliance with national laws and managed social and economic activities. A particularly salient feature of Xidaotang from its very inception was its pioneering commitment to education. Influenced by Ma Qixi's dual Confucian and Islamic background, the movement prioritized cultural education, including Chinese language and culture, a stark contrast to traditional Islamic educational models that often overlook these aspects. This emphasis on cultural literacy earned them the reputation as the most cultured sect of Chinese Islam. The Xidaotang's groundbreaking promotion of female education was especially remarkable for its time and region. In 1944, the establishment of the Qixi Girls Elementary School, which admitted over 60 female students, was a revolutionary initiative in northwest China. This directly challenged prevailing traditional norms, such as the notion that women without talent possess virtue, and addressed the general disregard for female education within Chinese Muslim circles of that era. The school recruited talented female teachers, offered competitive salaries, and provided a curriculum that aligned with state-run schools, encompassing subjects like Chinese, arithmetic, history, geography, natural science, music, dancing, and painting, alongside Islamic texts by Liu Ji. This dedication to gender-transcending education not only empowered its members, but also contributed significantly to the group's intellectual vibrancy and long-term sustainability. By investing in human capital, particularly women, the Xidaotang cultivated a more robust and adaptable community, a factor that would prove crucial for its survival through periods of intense suppression.